Oh yes.
Okay, talk about that
With Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about that.
Okay. I'll keep it because I haven't seen another movie.
I didn't like it.
Episode 5, take 3, A.B. Mark. D. Mark.
When you're a stone's throw away from Hollywood, it can feel like you're on the D list or the C list, maybe the T or the S or the V list. But we know if you're not on the A list, you're on the Z list. That's right, we are Z-listers, and we're here at Z-listers talking about movies, talking about opinions. We have opinions as Z people. We've come here today to discuss Christopher Nolan. So, let's, favorite films.
Interstellar.
Interstellar?
Yeah.
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 I've not seen that.
Interstellar is my favorite. I just like Matthew McConaughey.
Mm.
No.
All right.
All of his films are very complex, you know, and like have a lot of layers, like you said. And Interstellar was one that was like, I'm really into like the whole out of the world kind of films, and it just caught my eye. That Inception was, it's still. I was watching it the other day. I'm still trying to understand it, but I think I get a little bit more. And The Dark Knight, obviously.
Oh, this is, here, what would you like to say?
Oh, I need to watch Inception more than once again.
Yeah,
because
I
I've only watched it once, and I didn't give it the time of day. In the sense that I tried to understand it, but
Hang on. Have you seen Inception?
I love Inception.
Yeah.
Okay, and have you seen Inception?
I've seen parts of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's long too. You gotta be there.
Let's go.
And it hits the
We're
beginning.
gonna do our best as a group to try and summarize the plot of Inception as we remember it right now.
oh,
Okay.
Go ahead. Start.
I came in the middle of it because there was nothing else on TV, and I just I wanted to see something, so I just put it on. So I came in the middle of it, and it's just like, is he having a dream?
It's a dream.
And
It's like a dream.
A dream within a dream. And
Within
he's
a
gotta-
dream. Within a dream.
And he's got to find out who the bad guy is or something.
And there's a lot of science, I think, that's kind of tied into the film. I can't remember. I'm trying to
The
think.
science isn't even that important. It's
Yeah.
more just the idea of about what happens when you go into your past,
Right.
and how how people fight with that. It's kind of like secrets that are hidden create can create huge problems for everybody,
Yeah.
as we know with Leah's character.
Yeah.
And just sort of like the metaphorical ideas of that, the metaphorical ideas of like going deeper, and how it's like in dream states, like how people can have a different vision of a dream state. So for me, it was like the vision of people's dreams, the vision of like how people see their own reality, and like how deep people are willing to go to be back in reality. I don't know. I saw a little ties between Inception and also just like the concept of like addiction in general, of like going back to something that's like so good.
That's a great point.
You
Yeah.
can't deny it. You have to go back to it. You've got no other choice because it's like always there.
Yeah.
Well, to piggyback off of that idea, when I watched it, I thought of it as kind of like a metaphor for depression.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way that, and it's very much like an addiction to good memories. Like if you want to live in the past in your head, you absolutely can. But
the plot behind it was, weren't they trying to get wasn't Leo, they put a team together and they were trying to get the guy's money, I forgot, or like his father's.
They were trying to convince him to make some business deal. And
Yeah,
so
business deal, right.
The guy was making a lot of money to try and convince this guy that there was this new method that he could get this guy to implant a dream, to implant an idea in his dream.
Yeah, and his dad, because at the very end, he breaks into the vault, and his dad's in there in the hospital, and I think that he didn't the character didn't like his father that much or something like that. So that's why they were trying to get the deal done. If you help me out.
See, this is what
I just watch it. It's a great movie. I'm just trying. Like, there's still parts where I'm always like, God, I do not still know what's going on in this particular part.
I know,
of the
and
scene.
I agree. But honestly, I don't really think that's very important.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I just visually, I love what's going on in it.
Oh, visually great.
Yeah, visually, yeah. I mean, it's more about just the relationship between father and son, and the fact that the father really was kind of like not that great of a guy, and the son really just wanted his attention. Really, just wanted his love, and he kind of never gets it. But they're trying to plant it that he does get it at the end,
And I think that's all what Christopher Nolan does. Like, all of his films are very visually.
Well, all of them are visually incredible. I mean, Inception was for sure a feat in set design and
Because it wasn't like the first time that they ever did something like that, how the visuals folded in and on itself. It's not like the first
I've
time
never
or
seen
something like
anything
that.
There was
Maybe.
something groundbreaking with that technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was something I had never seen before in a film done.
Yeah.
With
really well.
the yes, because you're always sort of stuck in this juxtaposition. Am I in the dream state or am I in the real state? And truly, I guess ultimately in life,
Yeah, because
we're always combating
yeah,
that
because it's like
conflict.
because you see it again in Doctor Strange. Sorry, I just segue into Marvel
no.
Universe.
Yeah.
because that kind of Inception folding in comes into play in Doctor Strange when they're battling Dumont. No, I'm getting all
Yeah,
nerdy.
love it.
Yeah.
It does really make you think afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, because God, now are we dreaming?
Right, it's like wake up, wake up.
Yeah.
like The Dark Knight as well was
Yeah.
a really similar thing where it was very much just kind of like a head game.
A head game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Conscious versus subconscious, and where are we in this present moment?
Yeah.
He likes to, and even Interstellar, he touched on it as well, where the parallel universes and how we're always we're all connected in this tapestry, and yet like how do you determine where your action, where you go next?
Was Interstellar the one where he went into where like he goes to a different planet or something, and then the gravity changes, so time is changing, so his daughter is like 80 when he
His
gets
daughter's
back.
80 when he gets
Yes.
back. Yeah,
He
yeah. Like
leaves
he has to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that
planet
scene.
does he go to? I can't remember, but
He
he
goes
has
to a
to.
moon or something.
Yeah, he has to go to and his daughter like ages very, very quickly.
I thought
And
that was so cool.
It was
so
really cool.
Just like in Inception, I love the part where he goes into whatever that weird he goes into a black hole.
Right.
Yes, and then
because
he's somehow
because
on
it-
the other side.
And on the other side is his
He's
daughter.
messing with time. Yeah.
Yes, he's messing with time.
And so
Yeah.
it's the same thing as Inception. It's instead of like going out towards space, you're like going into your mind, but you kind of like reach the same thing. And I think that's what that's what I like about Christopher Nolan is that he's like it's a head game.
Yeah.
Even if you
Memento, head game.
Yeah,
Memento.
total
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I actually credit Memento for bringing back Polaroids.
Ah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's a good one.
yeah,
When I
still
started
have a-
working in this industry, we were still taking continuity photos with
with
Polaroids.
Polaroids. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was old school.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're gone are those
I still
days.
have my old Polaroid camera. So like, I'm not getting rid of this.
Yeah.
He just did Dunkirk.
Huh? Yeah.
Dunkirk.
Yes.
Yeah, he just did Dunkirk too, which was I love that movie. Really good. I love the disuse of no. I'm really big into like the whole like the Quiet Place, the Quiet Place movie. There's no talking. Dunkirk. There's really no talking. That movie wasn't really about like time though. I guess.
No, it's about
It was more about
the war.
Yeah.
And what happened over there with Dunkirk, where the German U-boats they like sunk a lot of. They sunk. I want to say a submarine or whatever. I didn't see the film, but
the
the
guys
village went out to help rescue the sailors and stuff like that, and so it's something. And I forget somebody I know has a relative who was involved in that. Yeah.
It's really funny because Interstellar reminds me of like Inception, but Dunkirk reminds me of like Batman Begins, like those the kind of styles that he shot those those films in. So I just forgot that he shot Dunkirk.
Well, I mean, Memento takes place entirely in the mind of the main character. Or it puts us, I guess, from a storytelling standpoint, it always puts us in the mind of the main character. So, like, you're figuring it out as he goes along, which is very much his first film following was very much kind of like a film noir situation.
That's
I haven't
old.
seen
I
it.
haven't seen it in a while.
Guys.
I'm missing out. Missing out. Okay,
So
I'm
what's
missing
the
out.
plot?
Christopher
Plot?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Someone follows someone. I haven't seen it either.
Follow you.
Truth be told.
Yeah. But people like to do presentations about it in film school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
I think I think more than anything, why people do presentations about it a lot is because, and these are students that like choose their own film to give a presentation on, is because they probably really like Christopher Nolan films in present tense, and then
they try to throw them.
they go to the first one.
Yeah, the first one they go in.
I mean,
there.
it's a good.
Well, I know my history
Reach
on this
deep.
one. I know that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good pedagogical strategy.
I'm gonna get an A.
But I've seen a lot of that, and who else do they do? Labyrinth. I'm not Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's
Right.
Labyrinth.
Ooh, that's good.
But
But they're doing another one.
oh, are they?
They're remaking Labyrinth. The David Bowie one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're remaking that one.
Who's
Yeah.
making it?
Yeah.
No, Dark Crystal. My bad.
Oh, they're making
no,
Dark
I heard
Crystal.
they're remaking Dark Crystal, yeah.
Yes.
Christopher Nolan's doing it.
Christopher Nolan's doing it?
No, I'm just.
I have no idea. I don't know
I
who's
would
doing
say
it.
that would be
Yeah.
quite a head game.
Yeah, but they're
Oh.
redoing that one. So
Well,
that should be interesting.
Speaking of head games, we're gonna rest our heads a little bit, and we'll be right back. And we're back. We're here on the Z-Listers, talking some Z-List shop with A-list directors. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So we talked about story a little bit in Christopher Nolan's films. Let's talk about. There's a theme that comes up all the time, which is time.
Oh, time.
Time.
Yeah.
He's frequently using the ticking of a clock in the score and the sound design of the films, and we see time pulled apart in Memento. Let's how does he make you feel about time?
Well, this is actually really interesting. So I work a lot these days in 360 video, and something like spatial audio, what we've come to realize is that spatial audio and sound in general is extremely important in leading the viewer. And the types of cues that you give. I mean, I'm sure that you guys have a lot of experience with this as well in standard video, but even in, it leads the viewer to where they need to go next. It leads the viewer to know like what they need to expect, like the sounds that they need to hear, and that it also has like a lot of suspense. So we've had a lot of success with like having some sound on the right, some sound on the left. Some sound on the right and left,
Yeah.
and then also like things going on behind you that you don't really realize. And so in terms of immersion, sound is super important. And I haven't really thought about it that much in two-dimensional video, but now that I've been working in this field, I've been looking a lot more closely at how directors use sound.
Yeah.
It's so important. And the ticking clock, it was in Dunkirk because like there's we just talked about it.
Yeah.
The ticking clock it's to the very end of the movie that gives you that suspense. And I was just sitting here telling you that film stressed the shit out of me because I was like, God, these guys got to get off this beach, man, and get to safety, and there is that ticking clock, and it's an Inception, it's an Interstellar, and it really does give you that
immersion. It sort of like brings you closer to maybe what the director wants or what the writer wants.
And I think it's more of connecting the events that is going on.
right.
Because it's keeping track. And like in Dunkirk, when the clock stops and everything is quiet, it's like boom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes you realize that
It shows you the pressure
about
like that
life.
he puts behind.
Well,
the pressure that he puts behind.
I
this film,
think that this kind of this ties into his use of like the main character, and his style of filmmaking or the tense in which he is making these films is in first person. I wonder how much, because this would be like an evolution of film theory and film perspective, but like say looking at a Steven Spielberg film versus we can look at Batman. We can look at Batman. So like Batman of the 60s with the kind of like
comedic.
Yeah, the comedic edge is not Christopher Nolan's Batman. His Batman is more brooding, and we're more likely to identify with like the psychological story, or we're identifying with Batman's trauma. Like we see him get scared of bats, and we watch him overcome that, and then we see the rest of the film kind of through his perspective.
Yeah.
So
it's like when it comes to music and film, it sets the story, sets the plot. Like the 60s Batman is more comedic. It wasn't taken as serious. Whereas with Christopher Nolan's, his take on Batman is more being realistic in terms of like making that Batman more human.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the human
More human
journey, and not the superhero, not the action
He's made
hero.
it so real when
but
I'm in
the
Brooklyn.
human.
Like I look up at like the apartment buildings. I'm like, yo, I wonder if Batman's up there. He's really like there's
Spider-Man might be.
Yeah, he's really made it to like your childhood fantasy character that you like really loved. You're like, yo, this man could be real.
Yeah,
like,
it makes
really,
it more tangible.
Yeah, it makes it more tangible. Like
Yes.
really
Where's
tangible.
the superhero in you?
Oh, I know, right?
Right. Like,
Yeah.
it's like if I had, unlimited funds, what could I do?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it very tangible. Like, Bruce Wayne could really be, alive somewhere, and Batman is out there.
Yeah.
Also, like how he puts. I just kind of noticed this, but like all of his movies are like one word: Interstellar, Inception, Memento.
Ooh, I wonder
Dunkirk.
if something's there with
You
that.
know, like, I don't know if there's anything there like that, but he's very like straight to the point.
Oh, it's good branding.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of his older movies. I could be like wrong
Memento,
in that sense.
Following.
But, like, following, like all of his movies just really have this plain like.
They are
This
all
is
one word.
This is what it is.
What it is,
It's
exactly.
Inception. You have Interstellar.
Yeah.
This is Memento.
Yeah.
They're just one. But he's so complex.
Yeah. I did the Memento is based on a short story that his brother wrote, and the name of the short story was Memento Mori, and it's told from I believe I'm getting this right, where it's told the way that the film is told. You're getting it out of sequence, and you're getting all of this information out of sequence, but it's still from the character's mind. But Memento Mori as like a art history theme is when they were doing still lifes, they would always put like a skull in there or next to the flowers. So I hope that I'm getting this right. I hope all my art history professors are proud. But like a skull next to flowers to remind you that the flowers are eventually going to die. Like this is a still life. You're capturing these things that are only alive for so long, like fruit,
like
flowers.
life and death.
Yeah, life and death.
Because then if you think about it, Memento and Interstellar, it all has to do with memories and how we journey back and forth through our memories. And like Interstellar, I haven't seen it, but he goes through a time warp, black hole, close to the speed of light. Everything in his past is moving forward while he stays the same, pretty much, or ages slowly. And when he comes backwards, he's realized time has moved on, and I have not. So it's all has to do with memories, I think.
Yeah. I feel like these stories that he's telling could not, just like any very innovative director, the stories that he's telling could not be told in any other time. Like when you are thinking about the evolution of cinema or the evolution of film, without the technology we have, we couldn't have Inception. But I think that without having the storytelling of we're going to get closer and closer to putting film into first person. So it's like, almost evolving into VR, where you can witness the film through the character's eyes.
I'm not a big fan of reality television. So for film to go in that direction as an entire, like, we accept this and that's, would be difficult for me. I don't know if I could watch every film although I want to buy into the character and I really want that story and I want to get involved in that
I would
story
rather
and that
take
journey.
like that VR experience kind of if I'm gonna do it, like make it like a virtual experience. And I think his films would be almost perfect for that.
Gosh, yeah.
That kind of like that kind of experience with it. That's my just opinion on it.
Yeah.
So make it happen.
Well, and I mean, like VR is going in that direction as well. I mean, like right now, VR is like an open platform It's kind of like in the sketchbook right now. Nothing is written in stone. There's no rules. There's no there's no like laws that have been set in stone. VR has really only been around since it's only been around commercially for the past like maybe 5 or 6 years. Because before that, it was like for military, for medical things, and it's still going in that direction. But that's what's so beautiful about it is that people are still trying to figure out. Like I'm still trying to figure out. It's like
how to go about it.
Where it's like, are you first person or are you just a person in the room?
Are you an omniscient participant?
Are you omniscient or are you just somebody in the room? Like are you just sitting at the table?
Fly on the wall.
Are you a fly on the wall or are you sitting at the table as well during some of these conversations? Or are you being talked to?
Yeah.
It's like and different people have different levels of comfort with that as well.
Right.
And so I understand where you're coming from with being it's like I don't want people to talk to me. I don't want to be the Joker. I don't want people to like to sit there and yell at me.
But I think it's like depends on the director. Like the film I'm doing, there's parts of first person perspective where I envision the camera coming from the protagonist's side and then moving around to the antagonist side, so that way you can see their point of view a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of get the audience members to kind of put themselves in that spot for a second and then out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Question. Have you guys heard of volumetric filmmaking? Volumetric?
No, but we're going to talk about volumetric filmmaking when we come right back.
Cool.
We'll be right back. And we're back on Z-Listers. Before we broke, we were talking about volumetric filmmaking. Please enlighten us.
Please.
Yes.
So I would love to get your guys' opinion on volumetric filmmaking, because I think Christopher Nolan's films are really appropriate for it, especially since he goes into that dream state and it's so weird. So what volumetric filmmaking is you put on a headset and then, almost like a theater, almost sort of like immersive theater, you get to walk through the scene that's happening. And I think that has a lot of implications for, you can choose. Are you first viewer? Are you a fly in the wall? Are you a person that's diving into this crazy fight scene that's happening? Do you want to be in the middle of this like insane like martial arts fight, or would you prefer just to sit on the back and watch? Where do you want to be in the scene?
Oh wow! Yeah.
So you put the headphones. You have
the headset on.
Have the headset on.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Okay.
virtual reality.
Okay,
Yeah.
virtual reality.
You
I think
choose
it's
your
on.
experience,
And you
Yeah.
can walk around. You walk around and you choose where you want to view the film from. And so I think his films are amazing for that, because they're so visually arresting, and he goes so close to being, it's like, are you watching, the main character? Are you gonna be a part of him, or do you maybe want to take a step back and see what else is going on there?
That would
Or-
be interesting.
yeah.
Or a little
Do you want to be in the
offsetting a little bit, because people who have motion sickness are, oh god,
But
Right.
it's not like changing the story. You're just changing your view.
Perspective.
Your
Yeah.
perspective, right?
Yeah.
Your experience. I like that. Yeah, that
But
sounds pretty cool.
pretty soon we're going to
Too
be able to
heady.
put on full body suits, and they're going to put
You can-
electrodes
yeah,
onto
you
our
can
muscles, and we're
feel
going to
the
feel
film.
the
Yeah,
experience.
Oh, the
of-
haptics, yeah.
Yeah.
no. When
What
they're in,
did
you
you
just
say?
put it in
No,
your
what?
brain, straight to your brain.
Yeah.
straight to your
That's
brain.
true. Well,
Film
or
tactics.
we could take some VR and we could choose to be in the fight scenes.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, because my film,
Yes.
it's coming from the master shot, and then it comes from perspective of the protagonist, and then moves to the antagonist, and then comes back out. So that way, in some spots, you get to be part of what's happening in that conversation that's going on, and then you're out, so you can see the whole scope of it a little bit. So it's like becoming part of it, because in some aspects you are a part of it, and this is something that you go through. And then if you step back from it, you're like, you can assess what's happening.
Do you think, that what you're describing to me sounds very much indicative of, so they're not physically fighting, they're having a conversation?
It's all of that. They're
Oh, okay.
having a conversation, and then they're actually there is a physical fight happening too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like I don't want to be completely immersed in.
But
that,
you
but
have
gotta
a
see it.
very unique perspective in that you've participated in the fight choreography and you fight.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very, I mean, I don't get into physical fights at the moment.
Right.
But
that's how I have the
Yeah,
camera. It's like
yeah.
the camera's coming from, seeing a point of view, seeing what the character is seeing, and then it opens up, then you can see the whole picture. Yeah.
And I think a lot of his films have that kind of, I don't want to say like fight. I mean, they have this type of choreography, whether it's the hallway scene in Inception where they're floating in the hallway. I mean, there is some type of, he does bring a little dramatic, almost choreography fight kind of
There's
dance.
so much
that
movement.
There's movement,
And-
in a lot of his films. And even when Matthew's at the very end of Interstellar and he's in the black hole and he's trying to get through the other half to get to the real present time that's gonna be happening time again. There's still so much, a lot of movement, and in Dunkirk too. I mean, that whole film just I can't talk about that one again. It stressed me out.
I would have loved to have been in the room when he was figuring out how those scenes were going to take place, like with all the people that he was talking with, just to be like, oh, they were going to do this, and this is how it's going to happen, and then everybody's sitting in the room scratching their heads like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
how do you structure that? Like, how do you structure a film set that's so, especially when you're trying to make the story make sense over time? Like, you might make one change. It seems like it has to be highly regimented.
It has to be.
Right.
Right? Because you're not. It's not just your vision as a director. There's over 150 folks involved on the filming set, and then you're not even talking about post-production yet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just involve you and your story. Everyone has to have that. I've stopped a while ago participating in projects I wasn't somehow drawn to, some way in the energy or the action or the story or the journey, or but ultimately in Virginia, a lot of the projects I work on are historically based. So I do feel like I'm entertaining, but also
So
teaching.
doing costume.
Education aspect.
Like if like Christopher Nolan came to you and like you haven't like doing some costume work and he's like, yeah, I need these guys to float, like what can you make them wear? Will that like make you mad, or like does the more complex make you upset, or does it make you like, let me get into
It's
it?
not my job
Yeah.
to have the final answer,
Yeah.
and ultimately there's so much that you just have to let go of in the creative process on these projects, because we are just ultimately the facilitators to present with options. But I'm still struggling on sets with the digital aspect of where we are now with filmmaking. When I worked on Loving, we shot that on film, on actual film.
Right. That was
Because
fun.
Jeff Nichols wanted it to feel like we were in the 50s and
Yeah.
60s, and that was what was available to us.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we
Yeah.
discussed with Sophia, that's
Sophia.
Because
Yeah.
I worked on Loving too, and it was fascinating to see them work on 35 millimeter film, and the camera assistant, she's coming with the black and white color chart and standing in front of the camera while they film that part, and it's just like, wow, they don't do this anymore.
No, they don't.
And that's a lost art in itself. Yeah.
When I was looking at Christopher Nolan projects, I was trying to see who I had worked with before, and one of the actors that Ellen Bernstein, where I worked with on a small little film in Appalachia, in southwestern part of Virginia, and it was Appalachia, 1940s. So she went on to do Interstellar, but there was a scene where she came in her comfort Uggs, and we're directing the scene, and they actually decided to add her to this moment, to this camera shot, and I didn't have her picture shoes on her, and it was in the frame, and I'm like, as a costumer, someone who's watching the continuity for the costumes, I yell. I'm telling the AD, I'm like, you can't shoot this, you can't shoot this. The director yells out from her small little monitor from the room, we can zoom in and cut off her feet. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm still learning that
Yes.
because I come from a school where get it right, or
Yeah.
get it as close to right.
Yeah.
So what I love about these epic films, Christopher Nolan, I think, does a wonderful job of integrating what is tangible and what we can still, what all viewing audiences can still like latch onto, that human existence, the dream, the reality, but then shoot us into a whole nother atmosphere.
Yeah, like
when he pulls us
like
into
we were
these
talking about,
effects.
like Batman climbing up the rope in the early films. Now he's shooting this thing. Now he's like shooting it up there, and he's actually like zip lining up there.
Yeah.
You know, you're right. He does make it.
Yeah.
That's really that's cool.
But then when you add the whole action aspect to it, man, it's a whole nother layer.
Yeah, for sure.
You did the Prestige.
And
too.
effects are so different now.
Prestige, yeah.
Ooh, Prestige.
Yeah.
Christian Bale.
And Hugh Jackman. I like that movie.
Yes, and
That's
the
a good story, The
costumes. I
Magicians. You know
find
that
I'm
one?
drawn to that.
So I actually saw that movie for the first time.
It's been on TV a lot.
When I was on my way to Sundance with my partner, and he was trying to talk with me about Sundance because he was so excited for it, and I kept on getting distracted because I saw this movie that was on the seat in front of him. So he was just like, he was talking to me, and I was like, and I was watching this like beautiful like story play out where like this guy was drowning and like kept going back to these scenes, and again it was like all about memory, and I had no idea what it was. I ended up having to rewatch it because he was like, hey, are you listening? And I was like, I promise I am, but there's something that's really interesting going on at the seat in front of you, or on the screen of the seat in front of you, and I found out that it was The Prestige.
So you were watching it without audio, but completely enraptured.
And I was, I couldn't look away just because again, it was just scene after scene, and I was figuring out what was going on because again, it was all about the past and how the past was relating to the future, and like these like weird cutscenes and.
And they were trying to figure out he was trying to figure out how he does his trick. How he does his, and it's like kind of another thing of time again.
Yeah.
Like how does
Also, I mean, magic. When you're dealing with magic, it also has to do with perception. So you have to be so aware of what the audience does, and you're basically taking advantage of the way that people either pay attention or like the way that people actually like in their peripheral vision see the world.
And I think it's Prestige. It's not The Prestige, it's Prestige.
Oh, it's just Prestige.
It's just like
one word. There's your one word theory.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess with the way that we are moving forward with storytelling, I mean, this is exactly what you said, that it's still, why do we even tell these stories? It's because we're humans trying to make sense of our own existence and minds and communities and everything else. We're trying to tell these stories about humans, but we keep pushing the technology. We keep trying to push the way that we see the world and how much of the world we're able to see and represent. And I think he's a great marriage of those two.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's doing good stuff. I mean, most of his films, I'm always like, yeah, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
And they feel epic, but they feel approachable. I don't. There are some directors out there.
They do feel very epic. They're epic.
But relatable.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lovely discussion on Mr. Christopher Nolan. Thank you so much for joining me with this chat. This has been the Z-Listers, and we will see you back next time.
Hollywood hills are greenish brown, and everything seemed to be so strange, coming from the coast again. And everything seemed to move so slow. When I watch them, there they go. There they go. Walk around now, wander around my Hollywood hotel. They're so strange. My Hollywood hotel. And my cigarette half burned, and the smoke dances around my hand. The church sign's gonna light the sky.